Welcome to That's Good Sports. I'm Brandon Perna, and today I want to present to you the worst draft day trades in NFL history. Well, at least through the last 20 or 30 years. To qualify for my elite list, teams need to have given up something of great value for a player that didn't work out or wasn't worth the compensation given for, and what players may have been acquired with the picks they gave up. Now, if I miss any horrendous trades, please let me know how dumb I am in the comments. Today we go balls deep into terrible draft day trades. If you like these balls deep episodes, please subscribe here and I'll do more. Today, my episode's sponsored by Blue Block's blue light glasses, the only blue light blocking glasses I use. Get out of here, blue light, you devil! Everyone thinks the devil is red. Wrong, it's blue and it can make your eyes red. Now, I told you that I use these glasses to protect my eyes during my hours and hours and hours of computer screen staring. But I also started using them before I went to bed. They say you should turn off your screen an hour before you go to sleep. And I say, do what? Read a book? Like a square? No, I'm gonna stare at my phone in bed for at least an hour, and with these bad boys on, I don't have to worry about the blue light messing with my circadian rhythm. So, go to blueblocks.com/thatsgoodsports and use coupon code thatsgoodsports at checkout to get 20% off. Blue Block ships worldwide and has glasses available in prescription and non-prescriptions with easy exchanges and returns for your convenience. That's BLUBLOX.com/thatsgoodsports, or just click the link below and make sure to use the code thatsgoodsports to get 20% off your order. I gotta give an honorable mention to Josh McDaniels, who traded up to select quarterback Tim Tebow.
Let's hear the words that few people thought would ever be heard on the first night of an NFL draft.
As a Broncos fan, I really don't look at this as a true all-time worst draft trade. Tebow mania was real, and he did help the Broncos win a playoff game despite being one of the worst passers I've ever seen. That said, he probably would have been available for the Broncos in the second round.
I love Coach McDaniels.
The Jaguars learned it's easier to just have the first overall pick than to trade up for your QB of the future that won't be your QB of the future. In 2011, Jacksonville moved up 6 spots to number 10 for quarterback Blaine Gabbert. Now, these are kind of nitpicky draft day trades that didn't work out. I want to talk about the big ones, the big whiffs, starting with 2012, Washington trading up for
Robert Griffin III, quarterback Baylor.
And also took Kirk Cousins in the 4th round. I don't like that.
You like that? You like that?
I just told you, Kurt, I don't like that.
You like that?
Please, Kurt, shut up.
I was just fired up.
To be clear, like everyone else on earth, I liked the pick for Washington. RG3 was a special talent who went on to win Rookie of the Year and got the Skins into the playoffs, but had his career ruined by a knee injury.
What was your worst pick? I'm not going to go with Kirk Cousins. I know, a lot of people were offended by the quarterback, but you got to protect your investment if Griffin gets hurt. And look, he's going to be susceptible as a runner to those injuries. I think it's a fine move.
Washington moved from 6 to number 2 overall. The Rams received a 2012 second rounder, a 2013 first, and a 2014 first round pick. The Rams then traded the 6th pick to Dallas, and through various other trades acquired 8 total players from the 4 additional picks they initially netted from Washington. Do you follow? The Rams basically built the best perennial 7-9 roster on earth with Janoris Jenkins, Greg Robinson, Alec Ogletree,
Michael Brocker, Stedman Bailey, Zach Stacy, Isaiah Peed, and Rotavius Watkins.
Then we've got the Denver Broncos trading up for Paxton Lynch in 2016. Now, Denver didn't exactly give up a massive haul to move up and take Paxton Lynch at pick 26, but look at it this way. Taking Paxton Lynch with any pick is bad. Spending a first and a third pick on him is a very tough pill to swallow. If you move up for a QB, you better be right. And if you're not, you better be ready to move on from him a year later. I did an entire video about Paxton last week, so all I'll say is this. Then we've got the Arizona Cardinals trading up for Josh Rosen in 2018. Like Paxton Lynch, it's tough to strike out on a quarterback, but it's even worse to whiff after you move up to get him. That was the case for the Cardinals, who swung and missed on UCLA QB Josh Rosen. If you can remember, back to 2015, Rosen was viewed as an elite prospect that might have gone number 1 overall in 2016 had he been eligible. Rosen never matched the promise of his freshman season, and he was still drafted below Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, and Josh Allen. Of course, he was taken 22 slots ahead of Lamar Jackson. I think a lot of teams wish they had that one back. But the Cards gave up a second-round pick to the Raiders and moved up from pick 15 to 10, nabbing Rosen, who famously said,
"There were 9 mistakes made ahead of me. I was pretty pissed off I fell."
The best thing about Josh Rosen's career in Arizona is that he got them the number 1 pick in 2019, where they selected his replacement, Kyler Murray. So shit, this is actually a great draft trade for the Cardinals, and Murray pending. Now the Raiders turned that pick into left tackle Colton Miller, who oddly enough was Rosen's blindside protector at UCLA. A rare good move in the draft by John Gruden. Just kidding, he could have had Orlando Brown Jr., who went in the 3rd round. A 3rd round graded player taken in the 1st. That was Gruden's MO, and he missed there. But that leads us to the Raiders.
Adam Schefter broke the story. The Patriots and Raiders making it official. Oakland sending disgruntled yet talented wide receiver Randy Moss to New England for a 4th-round draft pick.
Again, I think he's a very competitive player, and I think that he's very experienced, knows what it takes to win, is a winner, and I'm glad he's on this team.
Now, during the 2006 season, Randy Moss caught just 3 touchdown passes for the Oakland Raiders. The next year with the Patriots, he caught 23. The crazy part is that the Patriots only gave up 1 draft pick, a 2007 4th rounder. The Raiders were so eager to get rid of Randy Moss that they almost traded him in division to the Broncos. God damn it, why didn't we do that? Brett Favre also tried to convince the Packers to trade for Randy Moss, but in typical Packers fashion, they decided to piss off their star quarterback instead. I guess the Patriots were the only team smart enough to think Moss might be struggling because his quarterbacks were Aaron Brooks and Andrew Walter. Sort of like blaming Mark Davis's barber for his haircut choices.
Pro Bowl will be nothing new for Randy Moss. He'll be back.
Now this trade looks horrible because Randy Moss ended up having one of the greatest wide receiver seasons of all time in 2007. And in exchange, the Raiders got the once-in-a-lifetime chance to draft cornerback John Bowie, who recorded 2 tackles in his career. To quote Bowie, ashes to ashes. Then we've got the Denver Broncos again, trading a 1st rounder for Alphonso Smith in 2009? The Broncos had just acquired 2 first-round picks in exchange for their franchise quarterback, Jay Cutler. One of those picks was used on defensive end Robert Ayers, but Josh McDaniels was still wheeling and dealing. McDaniels, for some godforsaken fucking reason, traded a 2010 first-round pick to move into the 2nd round to take Wake Forest corner Alphonso Smith.
Picking off 21 passes starts with a low back pedal.
Holy hell, was this a bad move on multiple levels. First of all, he traded a 1st-round pick for a 2nd-round pick. In what universe does that begin to make sense? Sweet Jesus. Secondly, Alphonso Smith was not good. McDaniels kept him on the roster for 1 season before trading him to the Lions for a tight end by the name of Gronkowski. Dan Gronkowski. He got the wrong Gronk. Smith ended up with 5 interceptions in 2010 in Detroit, including a pick 6. He also got burned pretty frequently. Of course, I haven't even mentioned the worst part of this story. That first rounder that the Broncos flipped to Seattle, yeah, that turned into Earl Thomas, an all-pro safety who helped beat the Broncos in Super Bowl 48 a few years later. The Chicago Bears trade up one slot for quarterback Mitch Trubisky in 2017.
It's the Bears moving up one spot.
The Bears were essentially bidding against themselves for the number 2 overall pick back in 2017. They traded up one slot and gave the 49ers the 3rd pick, 2/3, and a 4th, all to move up again just one slot. We know, of course, that the 49ers didn't want Mitch Trubisky, because if they did, they would have just drafted him at 2. And they wouldn't have been willing to trade. Maybe the Texans or the Chiefs were interested, okay, that's a possibility, but they ended up settling for Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. San Francisco made out well, using one of those 3rd rounders to pick up linebacker Fred Warner in the 3rd round of the 2018 draft. As for the Bears, Mitch Trubisky.
Again, here's our MVP voting, Mitchell Trubisky.
Well, he was never as bad as people made him out to be, but compared to his peers and Mahomes and Watson, well, this was a really rough look for Chicago, and a big reason GM Ryan Pace and head coach Matt Nagy are no longer Bears, except for maybe in their personal lives. I'm not here to judge. Then we've got the Baltimore Ravens trading up for quarterback Kyle Boller in 2003. Brian Billick famously fell in love with Kyle Boller at his Cal Pro Day after watching Boller throw the ball 60 yards on one knee. Unfortunately, in the NFL, there is no scenario where a quarterback would need to throw the ball on one knee. That led the Ravens to move up 22 spots to select Boller in exchange for a 2nd-round pick and a 2004 1st-round pick that the Patriots used on Vince Wilfork. Pretty good move for the Patriots, as always. Boller at Cal never completed more than 50% of his passes, which should have been a huge red flag for the Ravens.
Because he had everything, the intelligence, the vision, the athleticism, the charisma. What he didn't have was accuracy.
He had the arm strength of, say, Josh Allen, but the accuracy of Tim Tebow. Or I guess you could just say rookie Josh Allen, who would never progress. The fact that the Ravens invested so much in a QB and didn't get a return led to the team wasting some of Ray Lewis and Ed Reed's prime years, until they turned a bag of Jaguars draft trade into an elite QB named Joe Flacco. Then we've got the 2011 Julio Jones trade, but for the Browns. Shout out to my Patreon crew for suggesting this one. The Atlanta Falcons made an extremely aggressive move to slide up from pick 27 all the way to the 6th overall for a chance to draft Alabama freak wide receiver Julio Jones in the 2011 draft. Despite giving up 5 picks, including 3 in the first 2 rounds, there's no arguing that Atlanta's bold decision paid off, especially if you look at all of the other receivers taken in that draft. AJ Green went ahead of Julio, and the only other notable pick was Randall Cobb, which you can't even compare to Julio Jones. But what about the Browns? Just because you acquire picks doesn't mean you will hit on them, does it? Cleveland used their picks to select defensive lineman Phil Taylor, receiver Greg Little, fullback Owen Marichek, and quarterback Brandon Whedon. Then they used the other pick to trade up for running back Trent Richardson in 2012. The Browns got a haul, and in classic Browns fashion, turned it into almost nothing. They were wise to trade Trent Richardson later for another 1st rounder in 2013, taking advantage of dumb old Ryan Grigson, but that pick turned into, you guessed it, Johnny Manziel, Mr. Football himself. And finally, the big one. The Saints trade their entire draft for Ricky Williams in 1999.
The Saints are going to get him cheaper than they expected. They're giving up all of their draft this year and next year's number 1 and number 3 picks.
This is some next level stupidity.
All my draft and a 1 and a 3 next year. So, I mean, he's paying dearly.
Mike Ditka is mainly remembered for his stint as head coach of the Chicago Bears, where he fielded one of the greatest defenses of all time and secured the team's only Super Bowl win. But we rarely talk about Ditka's tenure in New Orleans. Ditka wanted to rebuild the Saints in his image, which started with drafting a Walter Payton-esque running back and ended with Ricky Williams dressing in drag for ESPN the magazine. This is not me doing a Photoshop. This was really the cover of ESPN magazine. And the crazy part, the Easter egg, is it featured an article about Derek Stingley, whose son is Derek Stingley Jr., who is one of the top corners in this year's draft. Now, Ditka identified the Texas running back as a must-have player, so he did the thing you would naturally do and traded 8 picks to move up 7 slots in the 1999 draft. 8 picks for 7 slots. 6 of those picks were in 99, and the other 2 were a first and third rounder the following season in 2000, which ended up being the 2nd overall pick because the Saints sucked in 1999, in addition to the 64th pick. Ricky Williams was the only player New Orleans selected in 1999 in the draft. Even Sean McVay is like, that's not enough draft picks. Even Ricky Williams stated he was never able to get high enough for this to make sense.
He gets high.
Now, Jimmy Johnson back in the early 90s invented a draft pick value chart, so this type of shit didn't happen. It's literally a guide to help teams assess value for draft pick trades. But all you need is one idiot who won a Super Bowl back in the 80s to think he understands football better than some bitch-ass chart. Washington turned those picks into 1 Hall of Famer in Champ Bailey and a 3-time Pro Bowler in LeVar Arrington. Had the Saints had any picks remaining, they could have snagged a couple guys like Joey Porter in the 3rd round or Donald Driver in the 6th. Ricky Williams lasted just 3 seasons in the Big Easy and had his best years as a running back with the Dolphins. He also
gets high.
The real loser, though, the biggest loser here, was not the Saints. It was the Cincinnati Bengals, who Ditka first offered 9 picks to in order to jump up to the number 3 spot. The Bengals refused, so they could draft quarterback Akili Smith. The real kicker was the Colts selecting Edgerrin James 1 spot ahead of Ricky Williams at pick 4.
You talk about Ricky Williams. He surprised the world with Edgerrin James.
Ditka gave up all of his picks to take back the Colts didn't even have at the top of the running back draft board. Wow, thank you, Mike Ditka. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here on YouTube. Thank you for watching these balls deep dive videos. Any ideas of what you want me to do next? Please give me some suggestions. Just make sure it's not too hard.